Where's the remote?
I will get it for you.
You're kidding.
You got it.
And that's for a host number.
It's okay. You're good. You're in. Do you want to mute? Do you want to mute everyone?
All right. Well, we will we'll start the meeting, and we will mute the phone temporarily. Start. Maybe. Press 5, start 2. I'll go the other way and see if that'll work.
Pound again?
No, it's just star. All right, for those on the telephone, we're going to ask you to be silent until we call on you because the muting factor does not seem to be working. Thank you. Okay, so the first order of business, first we'll say it's Selectmen meeting February 7th, 5:30. First item will be to review the minutes of January 18th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 18th, 2022.
I'll second. Sorry.
On the phone, we'd appreciate your not speaking. Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes. Any discussion?
Tim, can I just ask a couple of questions?
Yep.
About minutes? So we're supposed to be, according to our town rules about minutes, they're supposed to be posted within 7 days.
Yes,
Okay, and ours were a little late this time getting in.
yes.
But my other question is, other recording secretaries send the minutes to everybody after the meeting, and we don't get them until, I mean, you already seem to go through and clean them up, which,
Yeah.
according to Robert's Rules of Order, I don't think that's the appropriate method, that we're supposed to see them and clean them up at this meeting.
Cumbersome, I guess. I don't know.
It's motions and basic information.
If
It's
you
not
just did
supposed to be.
motions, then you could just,
I have never seen them in rare form, raw form, so it would be nice to at least to get an eye on them before we.
well, we could do both, I guess, because, working, you know, stuff, and to catch everything, and then some of
Right.
the things you don't know the background and so forth, so.
But we could provide you with information too if we see something different. It's just, it would be nice for us to have our eyes on it before 2 or 3 days before the meeting.
All right, well, we'll try to get we'll get the raw minutes out, and then I'll work on it, and then we'll see.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay? So, are we ready to vote?
Yep.
All in favor?
Hi.
Okay, next item is public comment. So we'll start with public comment for those in the meeting hall here, and then we'll turn to the phone. Anybody with public comment in the meeting hall?
Yep, I have a comment.
You're not in the meeting hall, so hold on.
Oh,
Okay. All right, no comment in the hall, so yes, on the phone, please.
yes, my name is Carolyn Miranda, and I'm at 2 Biscayne Boulevard. And first thing I want to say is I hope that all the hearings by commissions will be provided via phone access and or WebEx for future. I know it's on your agenda tonight, but I'm hoping that you've seen it that way so that all people, regardless of status or disability, ability, age, COVID, whatever, can be part of the meetings. The second thing is that I highly support and recommend that Candace Fuchs be reappointed to the Economic Development Commission. And my third comment is that I highly support the Economic Development Commission for a Shoreline Gateway committee proposal for future development on Route 156. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else on the telephone that would like to make a comment?
Hi, yes, this is Kim Thompson. I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead.
I live at 2 Littlefield Lane, and I would just like to offer support for Candace Fuchs being nominated to the Economic Development Commission.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else on the phone? Okay. All right, then I'll try it once more no. This free system there's a reason it's free. All right, the next on the agenda, we have Claudia Weicker with us, who will speak to us about the Torrey Peterson Estuary Center. The Torrey Peterson Estuary Center seeks to be included in the grants that the town gives out to certain nonprofits. She will probably expound on this, but we do have a number of institutions who receive different levels of monetary support, and that is very helpful for them as they seek grants and the like. So Claudia, we could probably have you speak there if you'd like. And try to get that.
I'll just
use that one. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you this evening. I very much appreciate your indulgence. We at the Roger Torrey Peterson Estuary Center, our first mission was really environmental education. For people of all ages. We have a threefold, really a triad: education, research, and advocacy. We were founded in 2014
I don't know what's going on.
Connecticut Audubon that same year. We are the newest regional center of the Connecticut Audubon Society, which never had much of a presence here in southeastern Connecticut until we were established. We began in 2015. We introduced ourselves to the larger community, the southeastern Connecticut community, through a series of lectures, environmental lectures, where we brought in experts in all areas of the environment, particularly with respect to the Connecticut River Estuary. We call the Connecticut River Estuary the crown jewel of Connecticut. And I don't think I need to explain that to those of you who live here. You understand that its beauty and its as a natural resource has been foundational to the development, the cultural development, the history, the economic development of our communities along the river and its watershed. In 2016, we established our first, with a grant from the Community Foundation, we initiated our first educational programs for children. We started with a pilot program with 35 children in third grade in the Essex Elementary School. This past year, during the pandemic, we reached a total of just over 3,500 children in more than 15 towns and the city of New London. And additionally, we reached another 1,500 adults through a series of lectures, virtual and in-person programs, webinars, which from, I think, the initiation of the pandemic was March of 2020, and during during the following 15 months, we produced 150 informational webinars, which reached all of southeastern Connecticut and across the state, including reaching people in 7 other states and Hawaii, which is also a state, but it was a phenomenal year of just energy and production. And I think I don't need to explain either that one thing we learned during the pandemic is that people turned to nature in just record numbers to find comfort, distraction, and some sense of normalcy in life. One thing nature is, for the most part, there are some exceptions. One thing it is that it is reliable. The seasons change, the tides ebb and flow, and night follows day, and the birds migrate, and all of this people became so much more deeply involved in and wanting to know. So we had a phenomenal year in terms of reaching, especially our adult community, in addition to all the children we reach ordinarily. We are requesting this appropriation because in just over a year ago, we purchased the Bee and Thistle Inn here in Old Lyme to establish a nature center. And it sits on 5¼ acres on the Lieutenant River, which is part of the Connecticut River watershed and a significant tributary of the Connecticut River. And we immediately opened the grounds as a sanctuary, now available to the public. As we proceed with necessary renovations to the building, to the main building and to the cottage on the property, we will continue to develop the grounds as with nature trails to create new habitat, to restore existing habitat, to restore the riparian border that exists, and to renovate the building so that we will be able to have classes for all ages, workshops, small lectures. Our big lectures have been held here in this room, and we'll probably continue with your forbearance to ask you if we can use this room when we expect a large lecture. A small laboratory for young children. We believe that from all the science, from all of the data we know, especially with children, you learn the sooner you introduce them to music, to art, to whatever, to sports, the more likely they are to have a lifelong attachment. We want to introduce younger children to the fundamentals of research. Research is one of the legs of our three-legged stool, and research and education together are complementary. We just finished ourselves researching and conducting a 5-year survey of aquatic vegetation in the watershed. And we, as you know, one of the issues which we have today in the Connecticut River and its watershed is the expanse of invasive species, particularly hydrilla. And our board just made a decision to go back and to redo the first year of that survey so that we can see and track how much hydrilla has become a factor in the areas which we studied 5 years ago. And we think that we'll be able to draw some important conclusions from that work. We're asking for this information because it will give us a degree of leverage when we seek larger grants, whether they're state or federal grants or grants from large foundations, to complete our work. And it's an important signal that the leadership of our community stands behind the work that we are doing. So I hope that you will favorably consider this in your deliberations, and I stand ready to answer any questions that you may have.
What's the $10,000? Is it going to be geared towards scholarships? Is it earmarked for a specific thing, or?
Well, the grant would go to our operations, but we hope one of the things that we were able to do last year, and this came as a result of a program that was established by the state of Connecticut, was a program called Accelerate Connecticut, and we received a grant last year from the state, which enabled us to offer scholarships to summer camp. We have a science-based summer camp, and last summer we had over 100 children in camp at the former Bee and Thistle. So that is one thing. Another thing that this can be used for would be to help us adapt some of the features of the Bee and Thistle so that it is more accessible to people who have disabilities. So those are two, I think, primary priorities of ours. And that's something that we feel is a worthy of a public request. Anything else?
Have you made a request to the ARPA committee for any funding?
To what?
The ARPA, the federal funding?
Not yet.
Okay.
We have not made a request to them. Because we are in the middle of a capital campaign, as you know.
Yep.
We're raising $5.6 million in this phase of the campaign, and we're 4/5 the way there. I will say that. We're still in the quiet phase of the campaign. Then we will be seeking more funds for adaptation as we go forward. But right now, what we are doing is we are identifying in our capital endeavors those projects that we can undertake which will make the building more utilitarian, more welcoming for the public, without compromising a master plan, which we have had done by Centerbrook Architects. And so we're taking restoration slowly at this point, renovation slowly. It's a lot of cosmetics and a lot of necessary repairs, as I mentioned to you.
Right.
We had 4 feet of water in the basement of the cottage yesterday. And that's actually slated for a major restoration in this first phase coming up. So as that is likely where we will have the children's program and camp located.
Well, generally, the Board of Selectmen could make a recommendation to the Board of Finance, and then they, in their normal budget process, will consider it. I don't believe it's too late to make a submission, so we can consider that and move it along.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And I can supply whatever more information you require. Our director had a medical emergency over the weekend, so we weren't able to pull other data together, but we are able to if you require it, and are happy to submit.
We haven't had it before.
So I appreciate your indulgence.
I don't mind what we have.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Is this something you want annually, or is it just a one-time every year you'd like?
It's wonderful to have it annually.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a number of them.
We will be going out for grants on an annual basis, and some of them are going to be, some of those requests will be quite large. I think many of you probably...
Whichever one comes out first of the two up there, if you're drinking the blue
as we were
and not going to drink them anymore.
In the Connecticut Examiner recently, there was an article about restoring our waters and our marshes. And that's a project that actually we very much want to undertake, and hopefully will be in conversation soon with the Land Trust to discuss the marsh, which sits right in the Lieutenant River across from us. For us, it would be a long-term conservation and research project, and have many benefits in terms of restoring both the native plants and also attracting species. But that is very much a long-term project that would have to be ongoing.
Thank you.
Tim, can we make a motion now and vote on that?
Certainly.
So I'd like to make a motion to add the Roger Torrey Peterson Estuary Center an appropriation of $10,000 for the 2022-23 budget.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
As a former educator, I can only tell you that I love educating children, and I'm so glad you've taken this on.
Well, thank you. We're
Full vote.
very excited.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good. Thank you much. Yeah. Great. Our next presentation will come from Mr. Fogliano, who will talk to us about affordable housing.
Thank you, and thanks for having me here tonight. We have a fair number of irons in the fire on the Affordable Housing Commission, but for tonight, I want to focus on the most important one, the most timely one that we're working on, which is the Affordable Housing Plan that is mandated under the provisions of CGS 830J for all the towns in Connecticut. And that's what we're working on right now with the support and the partnership of RiverCog, who've been a great help on this, but the ball's basically in our court to meet the provisions of 830J. Now, just by way of background, 830J is one of the shortest statutes I've ever seen. It simply states that, when you read the description, the town must prepare and adopt a plan that will quote, specify how the municipality intends to increase the number of affordable housing developments in the municipality. And that's about it. There's no formal review or acceptance procedure. There's nothing prescribed about what the content of the plan is going to be. We just have to prepare something and submit it to the Department of Housing by June 1st. So I would see this as analogous to the Plan of Conservation and Development, state-mandated plan, although there is less specificity about it. And the other aspect of this is this plan has to be updated every 5 years instead of every 10 years. So we're taking the first step on a 5-year planning cycle as of June 1st of this year. Background on this, we last year, with a lot of help from the front office and the Board of Selectmen, applied for a $90,000 planning grant, which we're putting to use, again, in partnership with RiverCog, to actually engage some of their consultants to do customized work for Old Lyme. And that's going to include two important things. So one is a capacity analysis, a build-out plan, so we're going to be able to do that for us. So we're getting a handle on what the demand side of the equation is, but we didn't have a handle on the capacity side. So we're going to get that from our grant. And also they're going to build a customized website to help communicate the plan and engage the public. So we're looking forward to that. I'll say more about this later, but in parallel with this local plan that's mandated by 830J, RiverCog is also leading a project to regional general housing plan, not just affordable, but general. And as part of that, they've done a really useful housing analysis for the region that's actually been extended to be an analysis for Old Lyme. That's going to be underpinning many aspects of our plan. Now, my understanding is, for this regional plan, that we have representation on the board. And Tim, you sit on the board of that? Do I have that right?
Well, there's, we have, I am on the COG board. Then there's a RiverCog Land Trust, which is probably not focused on affordable as much as land trust type of stuff. So those are the two things I'm aware of.
Good. So this plan eventually is going to show up at the board.
Yeah.
So that's the governing board for
it's basically the 17 select people or mayors. Yeah.
And our commission is acting as the liaison to the planning team. So, but after I talk about our local plan, I'll get some of the aspects of the regional plan that we're going to need to think about here. Okay, so again on the regional plan. So looking between now and coming up on mid-February and June 1st, we're essentially transitioning now from a fairly lengthy period of research and analysis that actually goes back to the exploratory committee from 2020. And we're starting to synthesize the results of that research and analysis and actually start putting a strategy and a plan together. So where we are at is, as of next week, February 15th, Tuesday, we're going to be holding the first of a couple of community forums on the plan, where we're going to roll out some background information, some of the case we see to make some changes, and the basic building blocks of an emerging strategy for input from the public. And so again, that's going to be next Tuesday at 7 p.m. There'll be a recording of that, and certainly if I'm available, I'll make myself available anytime to present that
So that'd be
folks. It's not online. It's going to be virtual. So it's going to be fully online. So there'll be a recording of it, and the Rivercog folks and their consultants have some pretty interesting ways to provide real-time pulse feedback and some interactive parts of it that I hope will make it a good experience for everyone. So after that, so that's next Tuesday. After that, we'll take the results of that workshop and use that to take the next step in actually putting a draft plan together, and aim to have a fairly comprehensive draft plan ready for the late March, early April, late March timeframe at the latest. So at that point, we should be in a position to actually publish the draft plan. 35 days later, this is an option. We could hold a formal legal public hearing on the plan. We're also planning in that March timeframe around the second workshop, not just a formal public hearing, but an ad hoc public workshop. So the public will be invited. We'll present the evolution of the plan and another opportunity for feedback. And at that point, once we get into April, have the possible public hearing. The timelines are going to have to get together. Basically, we have to work back from the public hearing and make sure that 35 days before that we have a mature enough draft post as the material for that public hearing. So, but we're going to work towards it essentially on the principle that we don't want to miss an opportunity to engage the public on this. So at that point at the public hearing, we expect that the commission will be in a position to adopt the plan if everything goes right. And then things get even less defined. So our expectation is the commission will create a plan that will ultimately be adopted by the commission, and will forward it to the Board of Selectmen. And at that point, again, 830J is not prescriptive about what adoption of the plan entails. And my understanding from talking to folks at Rivercog is it's essentially at the discretion of the Board of Selectmen. So I think the options there will run the spectrum of you could accept the adoption by the Affordable Housing Commission. And I think, is that how it works with the POCD? I think it is. The Planning Commission adopts it, and then it's forward.
Yeah, they might. I don't know if they do something akin to a certificate of appropriateness, or not too sure. But, yeah.
There's no such requirement. But in any case, by late April, certainly by the beginning of May, again keeping that June 1st deadline in mind, we intend to have a fully baked plan that has been reviewed by the public and adopted by the Affordable Housing Commission to you. And then by then maybe we'll have more guidance on what adoption should look like, but I don't expect that. So that, and then the only thing that we know we have to do is send the plan to the Department of Housing. And if we don't do that, then it's going to fall on the Board of Selectmen, unfortunately, to have to send a memo explaining why we did not and when we expect it. But we have no reason to believe that we're not going to have a fully by June, ready to go by June 1st. And actually before that, there's adequate time for you folks to review it. So we will keep you posted. So essentially, just next week we start with the first public hearing. Mid-March or public workshop. I want to distinguish that from a legal hearing. Mid-March, another workshop and an advanced draft plan. Hearing in mid-April, and adoption by the committee, and then have it back on your desk by late April, early May, so we can hit the June 1st deadline. So I just wanted to give you a sense of that timeline, so this didn't just roll out of nowhere and show up on your desk with some expectation you take action on it. Going back to the regional plan, just briefly. As I mentioned, the Affordable Housing Commission is acting as a liaison, although we're not, that role of liaison does not have it really active in formulating the regional plan. That's pretty much being worked on by the Rivercog team and their consultants. We do get heads up on process points, and they've had 2 public meetings on this where they've presented a pretty eye-opening presentation on the results of their housing data analysis. That was back last year. And then more recently on January 24th, they rolled out, as we are going to do next week, they rolled out just the elements of their plan. My understanding is that their draft plan is going to show up at the board, the Rivercog board, in mid-March, around the same time. So they're running on a roughly parallel timeline that we are for the local plan. By the way, the regional plan is not state mandated. This is just being done under the initiative of the Rivercog folks. So around mid-March, they're going to have a draft plan. And having seen some of the elements of this, the Affordable Housing Commission is going to have a look at their material. We're going to respond to it. We're going to look, and we're going to come back to you with some findings and recommendations on it. And it might behoove us to sit together again in mid-March when that draft is ready, and to sort out what kind of feedback we want to give them.
Okay.
So just take our opportunity to influence how the regional plan is going and make sure that the town's interested.
But you said the regional plan is a broader scope, affordable.
Yeah, it's housing, not affordable housing.
Yeah.
So it's looking at all housing.
Yeah.
And it's underpinned by some pretty good research on and a lot of data that we have access to that help us with the too. So in any case, that's going on in parallel. It's not state mandated, it's slightly different, but I think we're going to want to put ourselves in a position to prepare you folks to interact with the Rivercog board and represent our interests. And we're having a really good dialogue with Rivercog. So I think I don't expect any issues with that, but we do want to be prepared for that as well. And they're also looking to issue their plan, even though it doesn't need to be submitted. They're looking to adopt and issue it or about June 1st as well.
Michael, you said that there was a presentation that Rivercog did last year.
Yes.
Do you know if that's online on their website?
I do know it's online, and I will.
Thank you.
There's a link to it actually on the affordable housing page
okay.
on our website, but I'll also send all these links out to you.
Thank you. That would be great.
So that's what I have for now, and I just want to make a heads up on what's going on and what the things are going to start to accelerate and get real over the next couple of months, and I want to make sure you have a heads up on what's coming.
Great.
Busy.
Yep. No ask tonight.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions?
That's all set. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right, the next item is the Shoreline Gateway Committee proposal from Carol.
Good evening. I'm Cheryl Torrey, Chair of the Economic Development Commission. On behalf of the EDC, we want to thank you for the opportunity to propose an approach to creating a vision and pathway to improve what we're calling the Shoreline Gateway. The Shoreline Gateway is basically from the actual creek, not the road, which borders the southwest property line of the old Gulf Station, east to 298 Shore Road, with 2 buildings east of the police station and the end of the The gateway tees with the Soundview Village District and is what visitors to our beach communities first see as they drive through on their Shoreline Gateway. Within the Shoreline Gateway, the north side of Shore Road, west of the cross intersection, is primarily zoned C30 and C10 east of the cross lane intersection, while the south side is primarily zoned R10. And as anyone who drives along Shore Road can see, the north side of Shore Road is often at odds with the pride and care residential owners in the area put into their own properties. Howard Margulies will be presenting the results of several months of discussion on the EDC, and we're lucky enough to have 2 EDC members, John Stratton and Joe Kamian, both who are also here tonight, who have looked at and studied this issue for years, dare I say decades. They have been instrumental in our understanding of the work previously accomplished for this area. The EDC voted unanimously to present this proposal to the Board of Selectmen, And we have shared this proposal, which was first sent to you on January 20th, with numerous boards and commissions via email. So our ask tonight is that you establish a new Shoreline Gateway committee. Howard?
Howard Margulies, I'm on the Economic Development Commission. Many people ask me, do you really want to get involved in this after Falls Road? I'm digressing before I even start.
Yeah.
First, I wanted to just talk a little bit about what this is not, rather than what it is. I know probably caught some people by surprise when they saw the article in the day, having that article about the project, but it's been on our radar for quite a while, and it really developed as a result of our work with Advanced CT a couple of years ago, and we did list it in our projects on the Events magazine and our annual report. So people were surprised. Apologize, but it really isn't a new project that we have engaged in. It's not about hiring a full-time planner. It's not about recommending expansive development. It's not about asking for a large sum of money. And it's not about dismissing the past and present efforts and improvement in the area. And it also is not a partisan issue. As Cheryl mentioned, it was a unanimous vote by the Commission with both parties. So what are we recommending? We're not recommending specific solutions. We are recommending a new approach and process that seeks solutions on a comprehensive basis rather than addressing issues individually. I'm sorry. Now, we are recommending that there be more effective planning, and I know when people hear the word planning, some people get very nervous. We're talking about central planning or not, but at this point, a lot of the issues in that area are because there hasn't been an effective plan. So we do need to do a better job planning. Now, does that have to be very restrictive? No. I mean, you have to dial, calibrate, make sure that you get it right. So it doesn't necessarily have to be very restrictive, but you need a plan better than the one we've used previously. Okay, we also need town-wide consensus. I think...
We're switching you.
Okay. I just emphasize that town-wide consensus to produce an overall vision for the area's outcome. Right now, I know there's the whole issue of the storage facilities, and people have approached EDC opposing it. And basically, if we had a plan that addressed those kind of issues, we might not have been in a position right now with things like the storage issue. Okay, so what are the benefits? We think what this does, alliteration here, it kind of elevates it and accelerates it and basically invigorates the whole process. It provides additional focus, energy, and resources. And we know the people in the area, especially the beach area, have a great deal of pride in their communities. And we want to be able to provide, especially on 156, a gateway that really supports them. What are the key components? An overall vision statement, and what would that look like, you might be thinking. Okay, now we know there are people, there's a whole range of options. There are people who probably want to do nothing. There are people who would like to see a mix of commercial, retail, residential. So how much of each? And what's the scope of each? That's the kind of dial that I think you have to come to consensus for to go forward. As I said, we need townwide participation. We need a path to execute this vision, whatever it is. And basically, usually that results in a master plan, similar to what we did in Olds Road. And there has to be specific deliverables and time frames. And I think most of all, we really need inspired leadership. That's the key to this. We realize there's a lot of different stakeholders there. There's been a lot of efforts through the years to work on this project. And in order to get it done, we really need inspired leadership. I think most of the proposal is pretty simple, as you've seen, and pretty self-explanatory. I just thought I'd go through a couple of issues, though, that maybe we need to elaborate a little bit more on. We think there needs to be certainly participation by the business community and the businesses in the area. But I think we have to be careful about putting one or two businesses on the committee, because then you potentially get into conflict of interest if they're voting, and we don't want to be in a position of the town favoring one business over another. So I think you have to perhaps have the businesses as a group or association, or have them advise the committee but not vote. But we'll leave that to you guys, since you guys get paid the big bucks and we don't. Why do we need a new committee? Why don't we just have a subcommittee, say the EDC or somewhere else? And we think, again, because of the reasons I mentioned before, I think we need that leadership. We need to elevate this issue. We've been dealing with that whole area for years, and it's been a very slow process. So we need to elevate it, and I think if you have it as a subcommittee, it then puts another layer of approvals in the process and makes it a little messy. So we really think it should be a separate committee. That's pretty much what I wanted to go over. I will ask Joe and John. They've worked on projects in the Soundview area for a long, long time. They produce reports like this, and basically we haven't gotten anywhere, and that's what generated a lot of this process that we're recommending. So I'll call on them they can talk about their experiences and the proposal. And finally, if people are listening or anyone in the audience wants to see the actual proposal, it is on the town website under boards and commissions, EDC, and it's on the left at the bottom. And that's it. So I'd be happy to, well, we want to let John and Joe go, and then we'll answer questions. Thank you.
Well, Joe said I could go first, so I'll go first. Easy feeling. Hi, I'm John Stratton. I live around the corner here off Library Lane, where I have been for 51 years. Well, in any event, my first vote in Old Lyme as a voter was against the Soundview revitalization project. That may offend people, but that was my vote. I voted what I believe to be for the people of Soundview. The revitalization was handsome, but it involved essentially selective destruction of cottages and the unification of those lots into new housing lots, which would have new houses. I blurted out that this, before the meeting, that this was a kind of Shoreline Levittown in scheme. It would be lovely, and it would be peaceful, and it would have no character at all, and mostly it would take away family cottages from people who had owned them for many, many decades here in town. So that was my background. Later, I became involved in the Cross Lane building committee for 3 or 4 years, which resulted in the nice recreation center, firehouse, ball fields, etc., that exist on Cross Lane. That propelled me into looking at Soundview people's opinion of the Cross Lane project. It seems obvious when you look back that this is what we should have done, but there were 3 referenda involved in that decision to go ahead with Cross Lane. People in the shoreline, that's really unfair aggregation, but that's geographically where they are, felt as though nobody had asked them anything about this. And they were very happy to have someone ask them about it. Then we'll move on to the South Lyme Chamber of Commerce, which no longer exists, but it was a spin-off of Lyme Chamber of Commerce, which was based in South Lyme. We raised a chunk of money by putting on plays in the former Strand Theater, which was a vaudeville and movie theater in the early days. And we had some events there that raised some money that moved forward, I think, an appreciation of Soundview as an entity, a cultural entity, so to speak, as opposed to a recreational entity. That, in turn, that organization disintegrated about disputes about how to raise and how to spend money, but there were all people who felt strongly about their point of view. And there was a Soundview Hartford Avenue Commission, which essentially involved traffic relocation and the improvement of the number of parking places. When you go into a conventional city, you don't see the level of disturbance of people's opinions how to park. So about Hartford Avenue parking. In other words, there was a lot of disagreement. And unfortunately, that sort of fell apart. There was another committee that was whose work was nicely done by a local eminent architect. And everybody applauded and admired it, and nothing happened. And then the pièce de résistance was our economic development program, which led to a Yale study of the street, which Joe had a lot to do with. And that involved taking a look one by one at each property on Hartford Avenue. It was Hartford Avenue centered, but it was based on a view of the district. A good thing that came out of that effort, in addition to the plan, the 3-phase plan, was a village designation for Greater Hartford Avenue that allowed individual businesses or residences even to bypass or take advantage of openings in existing zoning law, which wouldn't have been possible otherwise. Many of the houses there have 10-foot setbacks. Well, the town demanded 15-foot setbacks, something like that. The 10-foot setback essentially said anything that you do will have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals, which will not approve you because you don't have adequate setbacks without tearing down your house or whatever. I'm sorry I exaggerated, but that's the idea. So we made a significant step forward with a lot of work, but I think it didn't happen because not enough people took advantage that it offered. And now we have a new window and a new vision for the way to embrace that shoreline district as a tourism center, and I do not necessarily mean people who drive here to go to the beach, but people who come to rent cottages for the summer. That's part of business. That's part of commerce. And I now let you talk as freely as I was allowed to talk, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Recollection of the history. I'll be brief, guys. John has kind of given you the overview, but I first got involved in Soundview when I first moved to town 38 years ago. I put my very young daughter on the back of my bicycle and went for a ride about the Shoreline area, and I was taken aback by what I saw. The days when the Strand Theater was operating in a very off-color manner. Riding my bike with my daughter, and she said, "Daddy, where are we?" I said, "Honey, we're in Dodge City." All right. So anyway, I got involved because I felt, gee, this is an asset to the town, and it shouldn't be a deteriorating place. So, following my promise to be brief, there is a need for a paradigm change in the way that Sound View exists. It currently, from a vibrancy standpoint, exists as a summer venue that goes completely fallow during the winter months. We need to change the paradigm so there is a year-round presence there. And I've had different ideas I've thrown out over the years, but right now, representing a consensus of the commission, we would like to see the effort to do something to constructively make Sound View a nice place to go year-round, and to have the vibrancy of a year-round presence commercially and residentially, because we presently have a business model there that partially pump a lot of beer in the summer and go to Florida for the winter. And I don't think that that's a appropriate use, the best and highest use of that part of our town. So I'm hopeful that the selectmen and select persons, I should say, will follow up on the proposal that Howard has tendered to the board. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions, comments, or like us to elaborate on anything else?
Well, one thing that comes to mind, it's private property.
Correct.
And I think similar to Halls Road, you're trying to get the residents who own property excited so they will do something. And but in the end, it's their decision.
Sure.
So obviously, if some properties would ideally change, be torn down and start over or whatever, that's going to be an expense, and so they have to see that vision will include, it'll pay itself back. We all know that at 156, starting with the gas station, I think it's changed hands. I'm not sure what the next chapter is, but I've heard it might be a real estate office, but I don't know, not yet. The cottages, I've heard a little bit of talk about cherry stones and possibly some possibilities there, and as you keep going, you have Simpson Healthcare, you have some single family, and so I guess it was a proposal opposite Shore and Country Real Estate that met with some criticism, and then you get to Cross Lane and you got some retail there, and some of it could use improvement. So how would you approach these landowners who have varying depths of property back to the railroad track? I don't know if they all go back to the railroad track, or some do and some don't.
Yeah, I know that's a big issue, especially you get to Hartford Avenue, as I understand it. Well, again, we weren't trying to get into the nitty-gritty of the whole thing. We didn't want to come up with specific recommendations, but overall, I would tell you from our experience on Falls Road, when we started, we heard the same issues. These are private property and people. But right now, I could tell you, when we've talked to the owners and developers, under the plan now, we can say, hey, this is going to make you more money than you're going to be a much better investment for you if you go with the master plan and leave this alone. And so that's kind of, I think, the same kind of thinking that we're trying to do, that if, for instance, even if we know that Soundview has their village district, and they may go on with developing that in some way as they do it, very difficult issues, water, sewage, all that stuff. But if you had a business looking at, 156 in that area, you're more likely to get a vibrant business interested and more businesses interested if they could say, because when they go down there, they're going to drive around. What's my demographics? They're going to go on Hartford Avenue and go, why should I open a business on 156 when this looks like this? So if you can prevent a vision, what it might look like, that there might be, and it doesn't have to be that specific. Again, people get concerned about planning, but it doesn't have to be very restrictive. You just have to dial the caliber the right way. And that's why you need town-wide consensus, because it's a town asset. And right now we have, differences between that area and the rest of the town. And if you want the rest of the town to buy into it, there has to be some benefit for them. They have to see a vision that, gee, okay, I'm willing to invest in sewers down there because, boy, when we get down, we're going to have, really good restaurants, and we're going to have a vibrant area, and we're going to have whatever, townhouses or whatever it is. And so when that business starts to look around, they need to see a vision of some idea of what that's going to look like, and that's the way we're going to attract businesses. And if we just don't have that, it's going to continue like it is in a very slow process. It's just going to accelerate it. It's just going to make it, I think, a better chance of success by doing that. And it doesn't have to be restricted. It may turn out, this committee, we know there's a lot of people who don't want to do anything. It could range from nothing to what is the mix between residential, retail, commercial, and that's where you got to do the dialing. And that's where, there's a lot of smart people down there. Cheryl and I met with Frank, and, he does, boy, that guy has been there in the trenches for years on all sorts of issues and knows a lot. So there's a lot of very talented people working on that. We just got to pull them together and make sure that it's a town-wide asset and we get the whole town behind whatever we do.
I'm going to just borrow this for a minute. I've been a resident here for 25 years, and I totally agree that having a plan is a good idea. It may not all come to fruition, but it will be a plan that we think out, and it will have a conversation that we will start. And I think that's the most important thing, that the conversation has to be out there and invite people in to have the discussion. So I think this is a good idea, because this is not something that's going to be done in 6 months. This is going to be probably, I would envision this probably being an 18-month to 24-month committee that is going to have to take into effect. There's going to be people that only live here in the summer season that are going to want to be a part of this.
What are you having with yours?
Make some discussion. We're going to have to make some accommodations for that.
Do you want me to cook your piece?
I think it's something that we should do. And
pardon?
We can't go wrong with trying to improve.
Well, the Hartford Avenue and the beach area, I know there's been a group meeting about that, and you would have a very few retail establishments on Hartford Avenue. We have the situation with Miami Beach, where they have a deed restriction that allows the general public to come on the beach, and they get a lot of visitors. Clientele, it's mainly the young people coming down for a good time, and so I guess there'd be an ear or eye. They really have to figure out how do you change that, because that's been since World War II.
You're right.
That's it. You have to change it.
Yeah.
In order to do that, I think you need the right people at the table. So you need Soundview Commission. You need the Beach Association. You also need, planning. You can see, have someone from zoning. all those people in a room and figure that out, because it's complicated. And as you know, we've gone for years and years and years and tried things, and it's very difficult. And that's why we're saying, that's why we came up with this, about this. I think in order to get this accomplished, you're going to need real leadership, and that's why we recommend that someone from the Board of Selectmen do it.
And of course, the liquor aspect is a huge factor. I think Soundview is about the only beach in Connecticut that has bars on the beach. So I think Kokomo's is more of a restaurant and the pavilion is more of a beer hall. So Frank, he was very key, because I think the key to getting some change there would be to maybe change that and try to attract a different crowd, somebody who want to sit down for lunch instead of hang out at a bar and swim shoot.
So those are things that we can look at down the road, but at the moment it's just getting a proposal together. And I appreciate so much in your fourth paragraph under your proposal where you listed people that you thought should be included.
And that's a recommendation. You may,
and there could,
again, you may add, you may subtract, you may think of others that are more, that should be on there. But it's really, our proposal is really a starting point. It's not really hard and fast, but we think the key ingredients are getting some kind of overall vision, some kind of plan, and and town-wide consensus of what that whole area should look like.
Yeah, because I think zoning is important, because
zoning is very important.
Zoning,
that's on here.
Yeah, right. But I think there's an idea of, do you try to change the street? And so, yeah, it's certainly worth a try. What sort of monetary commitments do you think would be needed?
It's up to the committee. I mean, I wouldn't even go there. It just depends on, I think where you start.
Do you want me to butter your toast, or are you going to do it or not butter it?
And the plan, and then how much.
I'm buttering mine now, and the soup's ready.
How much it costs. I wouldn't.
Mute your phone.
Get into, again, we're not trying to recommend specific solutions. We're trying to make an overall method of getting that's better than we've had in the past. It's broader, brings more expertise to the table, it gets it focused, and it really accelerates the whole issue.
I think at this point it's a conversation.
Exactly.
It's a conversation. There's no cost to it. The only cost is the people's time who'd like to volunteer on this committee and take part in it.
Right. You have to have the right, but it's going to be very good. Certainly the Soundview Commission has to be on that, take a leadership role. But you need the beach community. You need businesses down there. How we put them on there so that we don't favor one business over another, you guys can deal with. But you need to hear those voices too. You need all stakeholders in a room kind of walking through where we go with that whole area and how we get there.
The north side of 156 is obviously the commercial side. The south side of Miami. What would be your recommendation about the residential side of 156?
I just think you got to look at that whole thing again and start with the vision of what does the town consensus want that whole thing to look like at some point. How much commercial do they want? What kind? How much retail? How much residential? How big that should be? How little it should be? What kind? And then you go through and say, okay, what do we have now, and how do you fit that, if you can, into the plan, or how do you adjust the plan, because some of the issues are so difficult. We realize on Hartford Avenue all the lots are different, and they may not do that. But the whole idea is just let's not let it happen piecemeal. Let's kind of look at the whole thing and come up with, a vision of where we want to go and try to get there.
Really, my only concern really is finding people to do it. I mean, we're doing appointments tonight, and trying to get people to volunteer is on another committee or another commission is a difficult thing, especially when it's stretched in with the EDC and the Halls Road projects. And I think it's a great idea. Just concerned you see you want the right people in there, but sometimes the right people don't volunteer, and then you get people in there that really don't belong. We get a plan that's something that's not what we want. So that's my only concern. That's all. It's just trying to find the right people for another committee when we're all stretched pretty thin with all the other projects we have going on in town. That's all.
I know the Soundview Commission supported our plan. They voted on unanimously. I'm not sure they support every aspect of it, but they certainly support a comprehensive approach to the area. And, I think you'll get people. I don't think that will be a problem. I think people from Soundview, people from the beach communities are going to jump up at it. I think the business people. I think we certainly have, Joe and John who invested a tremendous amount of work. There are other people in the room. Jim, I'm sure people like that. And I imagine that zoning would certainly have someone, and planning would, and
you need people from other ends of town too.
We don't.
Yeah, we need someone from the Rogers Lake area. What can we do to get you to go down there? Do you know what I mean? They need to be part of the conversation and say, hey, and I live right there. I don't bring my kids down there. Maybe my daughter worked at the carousel for a couple of years, because they're super nice people there, and they take care of the kids and they do a great job. But that's the people we need too. We need not just the shoreline. We need people from other parts of town to say, okay, hey, how can we get you over there? What would attract you to go there? Because that's what we want. We want people from our surrounding communities to want to go down there, not just people from Hartford, Springfield, whatever. We want Old Sabre people, East Lyme, Salem, Lyme, everyone to go down there for a dinner or something like that. So I think that's important.
Those are very tricky issues. You're right. I mean, that's what the commission got to look at. There are some people in town who don't want a lot of other coming in, and there's others who think, yeah, we're going to be much more vibrant. But at some point we got to come to terms with some of those big issues that have just been sitting out there that we've never dealt with openly. And this is a process to do that. That's all it is.
Okay.
Well, you probably have a Rolodex of people that might be willing to be part of it.
That's it. Well, I think we will, but if we don't, then there's a message there too that it's really not that important to the town. I mean, that tells you something also. I think we will. I think there's enough people around who are invested in that area and who want to see, have some ideas of what they could possibly be, and would like to see that come to fruition at some point.
Do you recommend the size similar to the EDC as far as number of people, or you don't want to limit number of people as far as?
I'm sorry, I'm having to.
He said, do you have a recommendation to the size? You've listed members,
right?
But I think that one of the things they mentioned is that there would have to be some advisory positions for people who would sort of come in at certain points and provide. They wouldn't be a voting member, but they would provide their input.
Right.
So I think that we could look at it and decide if there were what we thought. And as lots of times,
you don't have a lot of people involved. Again, sometimes too many cooks in the kitchen, and you don't accomplish anything either.
Right. But on the other hand, lots of times these things start off with a very large committee, and then you end up with your true blue at the end who are still hanging on and ready to go. So I always think that it's the best. I mean, we've talked over the year since election that we need to draw as many people in to conversations as possible. And if we have people who want to volunteer, and maybe this will pique somebody's interest, whereas maybe, inland wetlands and recycling is not their gig, but maybe they lived in a small town near the sea and they've got ideas they'd like to share.
No.
So,
like I say, this isn't written in stone. At least get this conversation going, and you may think of better ideas of people who should be on there, or the mix, or the components. But let's have that conversation. Let's kind of think through that so that we get somewhere.
Yeah, there might be sort of an assessment of all that exists. You have the Hartford Avenue, you have the retail commercial strip, you have the private beaches, and so you can make an inventory of all the different things that are going on. And then now I think one thing is that if and when the sewers get going,
it's a big part.
I think a lot of people that might be interested in commercial will say, "Gee, I'd love to connect to the sewer," and that's not necessarily going to be welcome from the standpoint of the state and all that stuff, because we heard, when D-Bolt was talking about his thing and joining in, it was like, no, this is the beaches and the Soundview, and so like if Cherry Stones were to redo. A logical thing would be sewer, but we'd probably need a WPCA person to help sort through that, because it might be that might be a constraint.
It's complicated, that's for sure. And that's why I think you got to just put some more resources and accelerate it and elevate the whole process to come to some town-wide consensus conclusion.
Does the EDC studies done, or some information like you talked about, like in commercial? Does the EDC already have some studies done or information that they could share with this committee if we created it?
Absolutely. There's the old Soundview Village District plan, which Amy was a part of. There's both old studies, and the town now has a one-year subscription to Survey Monkey for some work it did for the ARP survey. So we can certainly survey residents and property owners about what their interests are. We have new data through that sort of thing, and property owner interviews. So I think it's really important for that committee to hear what's been done to date and here are the obstacles we have to overcome. Here are the potential obstacles that we want to see, and then bring all that together in an organized fashion.
There's a lot of work. Joe brought in a report like this in 2001. So, we shouldn't throw that out and start again. And there's a lot of people have worked very hard down there on a lot of different issues. And I think they just need to be brought together in a very effective method that allows you to come to some conclusions. Instead of, talked enough? Yeah. I can take it now.
Okay.
Well, I think this would certainly be worthwhile to get some traction going here. I think it could be a very big time commitment, and so I think you'd need some people who could really be the focal point and then figure out how to make this work. So I guess the leadership of the group going forward would be very important, because it will require a big commitment, and now you've got to reach out and start bringing in different elements. You could be thinking about the private beaches, you could be thinking about the restaurants and the Soundview, all the people, and you probably need to get everybody clued into what's being thought about, and then work from there to decide what are the priorities.
Yes.
I think good and worthwhile idea, yeah.
Make a motion to, for the Board of Selectmen to start the process of creating a Shoreline Gateway Committee with, I guess, to be determined how many people.
I will second that.
Okay. All right, so it's been moved and seconded to work on forming a committee. We might reach out to the EDC for some assistance on that, but it would be a first step.
Would the EDC in the here recommends that a select person take charge? Matt, would you like to do that?
To be determined.
I would be more than happy to start with the initial group. And
I mean, I'd be happy. I'd be happy to be involved. I just don't know if I could be the head person.
Well,
we can do it together and then see where it leads us. I have no problem.
I think that would be great because we both sort of live towards that area, and we can reach out to Rogers Lake and work with the EDC and tag team.
Okay.
So you can have co-chairs.
Yeah.
All right, and it's not necessarily a Board of Selectmen thing ultimately. It might get off the ground and then it'll start getting its own personality, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Matt and I have great personalities, so it should be great.
That.
We need to take a vote.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All right. Done. Thank you. Next item is a letter from Carolyn Miranda concerning the teleconferencing or WebEx and so forth. I think that the principal boards and commissions do have either the phone or the WebEx. There, I'm sure, are others which are much more minor, and they do not. So I think if it would be up to the chairman, I think, to determine whether this would be necessary, because some of them meet during the day as well as in the evening. So I think a lot of them have the capacity already, and so I think we need to figure out if there are some which do not, and people feel that they should, then we can.
So, do you have a copy of the letter from Carolyn? Because I don't think I got a copy.
Of what?
The letter from Carolyn?
Oh, yeah, very brief.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Do you want me to read this so it's in the minutes?
Well,
short.
I gave it the sense of it, if you want to read it. But
no, it's just...
I don't know if we have to record every word of it.
No, it's all right. It's just... Matt, have you seen this?
No.
Okay. I mean, I think certainly that our boards and commissions should be making themselves available to the public, especially if the public cannot come to the meeting, that they should be using the WebEx or Zoom or whatever is possible. And maybe we need to look into something that is easy to use and because that is not always easy. I mean,
No.
So we may need to do a little research, but...
Yeah, WebEx is even more difficult. So
right, but there are so many forums now. GoToMeetings, Microsoft Teams, there's a lot of different availability.
Well, I think some of these services with video, you have to have the computer and you have a, an annual fee and so forth, so...
Have this available to us.
Yeah, I know, but I know we had Michelle Noren having to set up each meeting, and now we're designating somebody on the Board of Commission to do that, and hope that's working out. So this telephonic thing, if it works properly, it works pretty well. So I guess it would be helpful to know which boards do use the phone or WebEx, and then because you have committees too, and they may meet elsewhere. beside Town Hall, not necessarily here, so.
So would you like one of us to reach out to each chair and see if they're using the phone for their meetings?
Say, how do you handle your meetings? I don't think it's a requirement from the state, and if it's something like a pension committee, let's say, I don't think you're going to have a lot of public need for attending that, but, you know, as far as our principal ones, of course. But we could see what the situation is, and I expect the major ones do. Now, I think this is the only phone like the spider phone, but there may be. I don't think the mezzanine room has such a device, so that would be good. Yeah.
So, do you want one of us to do that?
We could canvas, or I could have Michelle check it out too.
Up to you.
Yeah. I'll have her check it out.
Okay. And if she could have the answers for us for the next meeting?
Yeah, just a survey.
Quick survey, yep.
Okay. Very good. Next item is appointments. And we did some last meeting, and we have more, and there will be yet, because there are still some positions which have not been filled. I think we could perhaps create a list of those open positions and keep updating that as time goes along. We have a list which the selectmen have received, I hope.
I did not.
You don't have this one?
I don't think so.
It was in your box.
It was in my box?
Oh, no, mine was in my box, but I don't have it.
Okay, let me check. I didn't see it when I pulled. Nope, I do. I'm sorry. Okay.
All right, so this sheet has the current ones we could consider. With respect to the first one, the Affordable Housing Commission alternate, there are 2 alternate spots, but we have one person who has been recommended to fill one of those spots, Lori Walker, who's a realtor in town, and it would be a 3-year position to January of 2025, Affordable Housing Commission alternate.
I'll make a motion to accept Lori Walker as an Affordable Housing Commission alternate for a 3-year term expiring January 31st, 2025.
A second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
There was a recommendation by the American Rescue Plan Committee to have a faith-based representative. How many people are currently on that now?
For those that attend, 1, 2, 3.
I think it was about 12 a while back.
Yeah, but it's not that many right now. It's not that many now.
Really?
No. It's like we have about 8 to 9 that come to the meetings.
Oh, so some people have left?
Well, I don't think they've left. They may or may not be able to attend.
But I meant the roster. If somebody has no longer serving, we need to...
We would have to look that over the next meeting and let you know, but Ross has come to a number of meetings to sit in. Before she applied for this, she actually sat in to see if what we were doing was something that she was interested in joining.
Mm-hmm. And I gather the request emanated from the committee, so...
It was voted on unanimously.
Okay, and so being a committee, it does not have a specific term.
Because this committee will most likely go away.
Yeah.
Committees I thought did not really have terms.
That's why it's got NA.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So.
All right,
So I'll make a motion to nominate Ross Higgins to the ARPA committee for as long as it's in existence or until she chooses to no longer participate.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, we have the Conservation Commission. We have a regular member, 3-year member, to fill a term ending January 31 of 24. We have Charlotte Lyman, also known as Holly Lyman, recommended for that position.
Make a motion to appoint Charlotte Lyman to the Conservation Commission for a 3-year term ending January 31st, 2024.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is the Economic Development. We have a position which is a 5-year term ending in January of 24, and another position which is a 5-year term ending in January of 27. We have 3 candidates for that. We have Mona Colwell, we have Candace Fuchs, who is an incumbent, and we have Wendy Russell. This was discussed at the prior meeting and it was tabled, so I think officially we need to make a motion to have it, I don't know what the word is, the reverse of tabled, but come off the table, and then we could proceed from there. I checked the rules, and I think that's what's supposed to happen.
Well, I'm a little confused. You have 2 on this term length. Both are 5 years, and you have 2 different expiration
I
dates.
think it's supposed to be 2 because they're filling a vacant spot. It's currently
When
2
Edie
years
resigned,
left of the.
there was a remaining term.
Okay, so it's
It was
still.
a 5-year term. But
Okay, so. Okay.
It's a 5-year term, but it was vacated during the term. Now, the motion that was tabled was to have Colwell and Fuchs fill those 2 spots. So.
No, I made a motion last time for Wendy.
Oh, was it Wendy?
Wendy, and for Candace to be reappointed to her position.
Okay, so that is what was tabled, so we would need to untable that.
Okay, I'll make a motion to untable, which I've never heard of, but okay. We'll untable the motion.
The tabling motion, yeah.
Untable the tabling motion?
Untable the motion.
Go ahead, Matt, second that.
I'll second that one.
Picture, we get the...
Good luck writing that one out.
Go ahead, we'll vote on that quickly.
Yeah.
Voting on untabling.
Yes, I vote for yes. I second it.
Okay. We have a proposal there. Do we have a second?
Yes,
I second.
Matt.
Okay, Matt. Now, okay, we
So we're
vote on this, and then we could either do couplets, or probably we could do individuals instead of making pairs. So we can talk about that after we vote on this. So all in favor of untabling the motion?
Aye.
Okay. So now we have the candidates, as you see on the sheet, for the 2 terms.
Still a motion. The motion has not been withdrawn.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Candace Fuchs to the Economic Development Commission with a 5-year term ending on January 31st, 2027.
Okay. Do we have a second on that?
Oh, fuck you.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. So we can vote. All in favor of Candace, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, those opposed, say nay.
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 Wow.
All right.
Wow.
We can entertain a motion for the other candidates, whoever votes.
Holy shit.
I make a motion to nominate Mona Colwell to the current open term. It's 2 years, expiring January 31st, 2024, Economic Development Commission.
Okay, Matt. Okay, Mona for the 5-year term ending in January 24. Do we have a second? I will second it. Discussion?
I have a statement. I believe as town leaders, we are supposed to be setting a good example. And discussion of a person's character or personality traits is not to be a topic of a discussion at any town meeting. I do not feel that your comment last time about Candace was appropriate, and I do not feel that by not putting her back on the committee that she has done an extensive good work on is appropriate at all. We should not be perpetuating bad behavior by other commissioners at this meeting. We should be telling them that they should change their behavior.
Do you think it's appropriate that Mr. Rubino, who's on
Good for you, Martha. Good for you.
also, berating her and, the papers, what she did when he was during election time? Do you think that's appropriate? Some member from the committee doing the same thing? He sent a letter to us. They also sent it to 2 papers. I don't think that's appropriate either. He made one comment that she was abrasive. I agree. That was inappropriate. What Mr. Rubino is doing to Mona, someone who wants to volunteer. We all have different political views in this room. All of us do. Okay? Every single one of us views things differently. Do I agree with everything she says? No, I don't. Okay? She does have some experience in economic development. In Vermont, she did it for several years. She ran a small business. She's the one that approached us when the opening came out and said, I would like to be involved in this. She said 3 years ago, someone had approached her and she said she couldn't do it because she was the president of her soccer club. And it was too much. What I feel is we have trouble getting people to volunteer, yet every time she wants to volunteer, she's getting berated for different things. So I don't think the person from the commission berating her like that in the paper for the second and third time is appropriate either. I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, he made one comment, called her abrasive. I don't know Candace very well, okay? I don't have an opinion on that, okay? But that's just my opinion that I think that was inappropriate as well. He's dragged them through mud. When is it going to end? She's never going to want to volunteer for anything ever again. I don't think that's fair.
I think that there are a difference between opinions and facts. And I think the opinions of a person's character is one thing, and the facts of things that people have said or have posted are another.
I'm going to put Mona Colwell
Those are
on
2 different things. It's an opinion versus a fact. And I believe that you asked a chair for their recommendations. You're going to have a lot of people. You want people to be involved, but you take a chair and ask them to run through and suggest who they'd like and to meet with people, and then they give you recommendations, and then you don't respond to it.
Well, I think we look at Mona, and I think she's being dismissed as not having skills here. I think she has a lot to bring to the table. As Matt mentioned, she has worked in trying to attract small businesses and so forth, and so I think we have to give her a chance. I think that she, during the election, it was a pretty awful time, and recently the same thing. So I think that she should be able to, I don't think one has a monopoly on a position. The letters all say that for incumbents, that if you are an incumbent, give us your whether you want to continue, but it doesn't say you will be continued. So
Okay.
it would be nice if there were more positions, but there aren't. And so I think having Mona on there would be a distinct asset. I believe it. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Wow.
Well, we have a position open. We want to make
I'll make a motion to nominate Wendy Russell for the vacant position on Economic Development Commission for a 5-year term ending in January 31st, 2027.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion on that one? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next position is the Harbor Management. It's a 4-year term ending in January of 26. And Michael Presti is being offered for that position.
I'll make a motion to appoint Michael Presti to a 4-year position on the Harbor Management Committee, term ending January 31st of 2026.
I'll second it.
All right, moved and seconded. Other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next is the Inland Wetlands alternate positions. We have 2 alternate positions which go to January of 2023. We have applications from Jared Bombassi, John Measham, and Ann Wells. I believe we could...
There's 3 openings?
No, 2.
2 openings.
For alternate positions.
Yeah, correct.
I'll make a motion to appoint Jared Bombassi and John Measham to the Inland Wetland Commission alternate for a 3-year term ending January 31st, 2023.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Bombassi and Measham. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The open space alternate. There are 2 positions, one of which ends in January of 24 and one in January of 25. We have Michael Aurelia and Fred Berenger suggested for those.
I'll make a motion to appoint Michael Ariella and Fred Berenger to the 3-year terms as Open Space Commission alternates with 1 term. Those terms are, is it filling in for someone? Those 2 dates are different.
Pick one to go to 24 and one to 25.
Okay. I'll pick Fred Berenger to go to 2025 and Michael Ariella to go to 2024.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any more discussion on that? All in favor of the motion for those 2? Say aye.
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 Okay, opposed? Very good. The next is the Planning Commission. We have 2 alternate positions, both maturing in January of 23, a 1-year term. We have Stephen Tsunami, Christopher Kerr, Maria Martinez, and Tammy Tinarello. I might add, when I spoke with Harold Thompson, it was noted that Tammy is on the zoning commission, and I know years ago we had a planning and zoning commission, but that was split in two, so I don't think there's much of a precedent for having someone on both organizations because they work sequentially, and it's a little difficult.
Although I did speak to her, and she's very interested in serving on both. Tammy.
Did she comment on that she would be on both? And
yes, that's why she applied for planning, because she wanted to be on both. I don't have I'm not going either way. I just want you to know that I had a conversation with her. Okay. She called me and mentioned it.
Okay.
So I had a conversation with her.
I've talked to her on a couple of things, but I didn't specifically bring up that particular point. But I'm uncomfortable with it, I'll say. But
Is that a quick question? On that commission, how does that work? With me voting on it.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a legality about it, but
well, I voted for the ARPA commission, and I'm on that.
Okay.
So we're going to have to.
Just curious.
If I had thought of it, I would have recused myself.
Okay.
But. Okay, I'll make a motion to appoint. They're both alternate positions. They are both one-year positions. So I will appoint, based on Tim's thoughts, for the one-year planning commission alternates, I would make a motion that we accept Maria Martinez and Chris Kerr.
Okay, got these two. Okay, let's have discussion on, excuse me, we have moved and seconded discussion on it.
I'm still on the phone.
Maria, anything else?
Maria was served on the zoning commission and ran for zoning in the fall on the campaign and lost. And according to her application, she would like to use some of that knowledge, and she feels that she can be very beneficial on planning and learning more about what is expected. And as an alternate, she's not, but she'll be more sitting in than she will be, you know.
Was she on the land use before she ran?
She was on zoning.
She was an incumbent. She was running for re-election.
I have to remember, was she an incumbent or was she an alternate running for a position? She was on zoning as an alternate, and she lost her bid.
So she served.
She served on zoning.
Yeah, as a zoning alternate.
Right. Now she's asking to be a planning alternate.
Okay. Okay. So we have Kerr and Martinez being suggested for the two terms ending in 23. We could, let's see. So I don't have the. You made that motion.
I did.
Second it.
All right. All right. We can vote. All in favor of that, say aye.
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 I'll say nay. That carries.
Wow.
Okay. Then we have the zoning alternate. We have actually 3 alternate positions with 1-year terms ending in January of 23. We have Michael Barnes, who is currently the alternate. We have Sloan Danenauer, Jim Lamppost, and Sherry Johnston.
I have a question. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sherry applied for this, but also for the Zoning Board of Appeals. And I don't see that on here, but she also applied, she has 2 applications in. One is for zoning and commission alternate, and the other is for Zoning Board of Appeals.
Yeah, I don't think I have a ZBA.
Did we vote the first one? I know, that's the thing. She gave an application, so I was trying to, since she applied for both.
She was on Zoning Board of Appeals. She won the election, but because of the minority rule, she could not be seated.
So she's asking for the alternate position, evidently. But I have the application.
Yeah, I don't know why there'd be 2, because...
Well, she had filled out both for zoning and Zoning Board of Appeals. I just thought that if she had been on Zoning Board of Appeals, we could reappoint her to Zoning Board of Appeals.
I don't know that there's an opening. I don't have it on this long sheet as to what's open. So I presume, let's see what that. Yeah, it's election. It was a regular position, and so then.
Do you want me to give you my copy of the...
Well, I know she has an application, but I am not sure that...
I have it right here.
Yeah, I do too.
Right.
I have them both.
Yeah, but...
I just thought...
You'd think it would be on this printout if it was...
It might have been overlooked because it was in last time and it just maybe got overlooked. I don't know if it was on the original sheet from the time before. Anyway, I just thought that we should address that because she did put in an application for it. But.
Yeah, well, I know she would be satisfied with this, but beyond whether the other one, I'm not sure why that is not on the sheet if it's open.
So I'll make a motion to appoint to Zoning Commission alternates Michael Barnes, Sloan Dannenhauer, and Sherry Johnson for a 1-year term, January 31st, 2023.
Okay. Barnes, Dannenhauer, Johnson, Netford, very no second. Any discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, the next is the Selectmen Shapiro, a 2-year term ending July of 24.
I did not that we got word we don't have to vote on this.
Well, it doesn't have to be bid. So in the bid policy, it was a cited exception. It does not require a bid.
Okay.
But I think we still need to vote it.
I'll make a motion to accept Sussman and Shapiro as our town council for a 2-year term expiring January 31st of 2024.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And lastly, the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee.
There's a missing name on that one.
Pardon?
Karen Taylor applied for that position as well.
Put on last go.
Was she? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's very difficult because this list is not given to us in its entirety.
Well, once we get this, we can update the list and cite any vacancies.
Well, the new format on the website is going to be very helpful.
Yeah, Michelle.
So are you telling us that there are 2 vacancies?
No, there's no vacancies. This is a committee. People raise their hand to be part of it.
Okay. I'll make a motion for Frank Bartol and Fred Behringer to be appointed to the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, I'm sorry.
I think that's the extent of it for now.
PCA or no?
Huh?
WPCA or no? Did you get that one?
And the one that you turned in.
I think the Corey one, I think he's got to speak with Prendergast.
The chairman? Okay. Want to make sure. You got that though, right, Martha?
I did, yes. And it came also from Michelle today as well.
Okay.
Yeah. He looks like he's got some direct experience, which would be terrific. Okay. Turning now to old business on project updates. The Halls Road improvement, we need to set up a special town meeting to consider that. And I think one possibility would be the 28th, Monday, the 28th of February. Another one is the 7th of March, but that is the date of our next meeting. And depending on how long we go, it might be dicey to have a town meeting.
So don't we have to send this to Board of Finance too?
I think they have. I think they have approved that. I think they have approved that appropriation.
Okay, thank you. So it's in reverse order this time. Got it. Okay, I'll make a motion to move the $45,000 appropriation request from the Halls Road Improvement Commission to town meeting on Monday the 28th.
Now, often we say an amount not to exceed $45,000 because we have a contingency amount.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to say.
Good.
Not to exceed $45,000.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, any discussion on that? We'll go to the 28th. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We'll get the ad all set up and so forth, so we can be all set on that. You'll hear a little more about this later, but Town View Sidewalk, that $50,000 appropriation was approved at town meeting. It was a very brief presentation, and Frank Papalardo led the discussion on that. So we're actually the attorney who's going to be doing some work. I spoke with him, and we are clear to give him a retainer of $5,000. So that's in the works, and so the committee can move forward with. Oh, excuse me. That's above. That's for the Halls Road, yeah, for the Halls Road, there's an attorney who's going to help with doing the village district overlay, and so we had a document from him to do work, and so as not to slow things down, we used the Selectmen's legal line temporarily, and so now that when that passes, we can straighten that out, but we didn't want to waste a lot of time with that. Okay. So the appropriation is set. I know that the actual engineer for this job, which is from ESC, has taken another position, so we were introduced to the rest of that, and I presume that Toronto has moved on, and he was very easy to deal with and helpful, so we wish him well. The Soundview Sewers, the drafted revision to the intermunicipal agreement with East Lyme was our lawyer presented it EPA, so that's when that's satisfactory, be given to East Lyme, and we can sign off on that. And essentially what that means is that the intermunicipal agreement will be between East Lyme, represents East Lyme and Waterford, the pipes and the pump stations, and 3 beaches plus Soundview, so 4 in all. There had been a recommendation before the election that there be 2 separate IMAs, which we couldn't figure out why that would be smart, because there's one capacity for the whole group, and for having us on a separate thing would make no sense. So happily, East Lyme agreed to that, and so this will solidify that. Once that's done, then the town of Old Lyme will be able to participate in the cost-sharing agreement between East Lyme and 3 beaches. So we're coming into that cost-sharing agreement. At the moment, we are covered by an agreement to join the cost-sharing agreement, which is a bit clumsy but effective to keep us plugged in. The bids, the second round of bids which were received were deemed to be pretty darn high. So the beaches and EPA need to decide whether to reject the bids or not, and that needs to be done this month.
Tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. Meeting. Right?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I imagine it would be kind of a group decision. Now, it's tricky because you have 3 private beaches which have their own money authorizations authorized by their residents. So if any one of the beaches decides that the money's too much and the citizens don't vote it, then that would create a big problem, because all 4 entities constitute 100% of the shared infrastructure. And so if one beach were to leave, then it would make it very difficult for the remaining 3 to continue. There's been an effort to scrounge around for any possible additional funding from federal sources or whatever. There was talk that the clean funds might be rejuvenated from the feds to the state. So I think that everybody's a little anxious that once you pay for the shared infrastructure, then each entity would have to pay for its own gravity sewer. And so the sum total of that expense will be borne by each of the respective beaches. So that's why if the bids on the shared infrastructure are quite high, we may elect to reject the bids and then come back at a later time. That could be some months from now, as a matter of fact. So we'll be hearing more this month as to where this all stands. The Ferry Road sidewalk, the day that we were supposed to meet with a particular homeowner, we had the blizzard, so that didn't occur. So we're trying to restructure that. I talked with the engineer about the depth of the sidewalk subsoil preparation. I think the book says the slab is about 5 inches, and then the subsoil would be 8 inches. In the case of some of these old trees, we're trying to see if we can deviate around the tree roots, give it a leeway, and perhaps elevate the sidewalk a little bit and minimize the impact to the roots. As I think you've heard, these tree roots going under the sidewalk are stunted. There's not much tree out under the street. So all the nourishment comes from the yard away from the street. So if you put the sidewalk right close to the front, those things are impacting that it depends upon. So we're going to have a meeting, hopefully, but that would need a right-of-way. If we were to make the sidewalk go around like it does up at the Youth Service Bureau, cherry tree, and there's a little circular sidewalk. This would be a more involved one. But
mute your phone.
We'd like to do we'd like to save the trees as much as possible, of course. So that remains to be seen. In talking with the engineer, he said that by the time you get through the tree situation with a public hearing and then going out to bid and so forth, it might be best to wait on that bid process and construction to the fall. He thinks that trying to do a hurry up and get good bids at this time, and plus things are just bloody expensive right now, so we'll probably give that serious thought. The grant allows us ample time for such a wait, and it might result in better pricing and get this done in the fall.
The grant that you received, is there a timeline on that grant? I mean, do we have a timeline on it?
Yeah, it's pretty liberal. I think it's certainly a couple of years, so I think we were...
So you received it in 21?
I'd have to look at the paperwork, but I think we're in good shape if we waited from, say, April, May, June to Labor Day. I don't think that would hurt us. The Swan Brook, the engineer, I've asked him to do some work on coming up with a plan to either fix the wood crib with wood or, depending on pricing, we talked about a sheet pile type of structure in front of the pipes as they enter Long Island Sound. And I think the wood crib would be the optimal thing, but if the price differential is not, certainly the galvanized sheet pile and driven in to about the same height, and it would be much more durable. This might not necessarily be the final solution. You know, we've looked at a couple of the concepts to have the, if you had Swan flow closer to the boundary of Miami Beach and Hawks Nest Beach Club Association, that would be a permit filing and so forth. And so that would take 18 months or so to get the permit. So we need to do something soon, optimally by the summer, to have that crib thing fixed up. So if we can do the wood crib for a modest sum, I think that would be wise, and then that would give you ample time to evaluate whether you wanted to go to a bigger fix. People have been looking at the, over in Rocky Neck Park, to the east of the parking area, there is a drainage situation there, which is much fancier. So this has been, as we know, a very difficult thing with the sand plugging up and so forth, and we need to have it safe for the summer because it's been falling apart bit by bit.
So has he filed the permit?
Because no, it would be a certificate of permission, so it would be that 90-day thing.
Yeah, but he met at the end of December. He said he was going to do that.
He's not filed it to my knowledge, and we would need to file that, and based on which plan. And now, if he came back and said the wood one would be half the cost of the metal one, then probably that would be the smartest thing to do, because it may not be the thing that we're going to depend upon for the material.
So how are we going to plan on funding this?
We would need to talk to the Board of Finance,
okay,
because there's no specific allocation for that, so it could go into capital.
So would this have to go to town meeting as well?
In the budget. Now, if the work, you see, the budget's up July 1, so obviously that is getting into the summer significantly. It would be great if it were Memorial Day. So whether we could hitchhike something on this February meeting, or rather, 28th, I don't know how quickly he could get something in front of the DEP and cost it out for us. So that would be a possibility. Or we also have the town meeting in May, the annual budget meeting. So that could be, if we're not ready, that could be the backup if we needed greater than $20,000, which it seems like it will be the way he's talking.
So when do you hope to hear from him?
He was going to try to send me some schematics, and tomorrow we have finance, so I could talk to them about where we stand with that. If he's thrown some rough numbers on it, so much the better. But it really does need attention. The annual town meeting recap, we had the annual report was accepted. That was good. We also received permission to sell 11 Alpha Avenue in Rogers Lake area to Roger Davis. So that paperwork is being prepared. I mentioned the $50,000 for the Soundview Sidewalk and Transportation Hub. And the Citizen of the Year was announced. Is Cheryl. Congratulations continuously. You get your preferred parking spot all year long out front, you know. And the final item was actually withdrawn. So that went very well, and we had a very pleasant reception afterwards for Cheryl. American Recovery, or it should be Rescue Plan. They make it more extreme, the name. Do you have up?
I do. We met last Wednesday, February 2nd, and our guest that day was Steve Mansfield. As you know, Ledge Light has requested a 1% allocation of our ARPA funds. This was also asked of the 10 towns that they service as a health coordinator. 5 of the towns of the 10 towns, 5 have already sent their allocation to Ledge Light. 2 additional towns have agreed to send their 1%. So there are 3 towns that still had not agreed to it as of Wednesday. Lyme, Old Lyme, and I believe it's the town of Groton. He said Groton, but it could be Groton Town or Groton City. I'm not sure which one. At that time, the ARPA committee voted unanimously to send this money to Ledge Light. We're moving it forward to the Board of Selectmen, and it will be coming under new business. The amount being requested is $21,622.15, which is 1%. The only other thing that came from that is that we are checking with Jack Collins. There is in the summary from ARPA saying that if you are funding something that's in your governmental budget, that you don't have to go to town meeting for that because it's already in your budget. So Ledge Light is part of our government services.
Even if you give them the normal money and this is in addition to that?
Right. It's that you can additionally fund us, but we're going to check with Jack before. So this may have to go to town meeting,
Yeah, we could do it.
But we just have to check through Jack because on the new summary, they had made some changes, and we need Jack to look at it quick and let us know what he thinks.
If that's the case, though, would that mean, like, if we gave money to that YSB or anything else like that, that would fall into the same rule?
That's different because those are subsidies to the nonprofit.
The county government type.
Right, and we are in the process of discussing applications. So initially, a lot of people put out wish lists to say we'd like you to fund this, like you to fund that, and there's been a list that we've been keeping. However, it is strongly suggested because of the requirements of the government that we are going to have to do an application process. When we receive this money, they don't just take it and run. They have to report back what they use it for. They have to, if they apply, other towns are asking to see their financials. They have to make sure that they're sound worthy. You can't be using this to pay things like back wages. There are certain things that you can use it for and you can't. So what we are looking at is to go to an unbiased third party to run the application process because that is what other towns have done. CCM strongly suggests that that's one of the things that you do. Keep your hands out of it.
You don't want to do that.
No. What?
Is that committee in Middletown?
CCM?
No, the outfit that would help underwrite this stuff. Is that the?
There are various. No, we're talking to Sam Gold at our next meeting. We are going to have some information from Sam from RiverCog.
Yeah, Sam suggested this Middletown is the subset of the Chamber of Commerce, and they're already equipped to do that kind of work, and we could all. All that.
I know, but he's got RFPs out for that. Yeah. So we have to see what they're coming back with. And then he'll make his recommendations or tell us what's available to us. But they are not finalized there at RiverCog as of last Wednesday.
Let me ask you, on the 1%, that's of the county money, is it?
Each town that Ledgelight asks for, they are asking for 1% from each of their towns.
Of the total amount, the $2 million?
Of our $2 million, yes. That's the $21,000.
I think I heard it was 1% of the county money.
I am, because he came and asked us and has specifically provided us with what he's asking for. 1% of ours. And this is I think I did make copies for both of you, so that you could see some of the things that they are going to be funding. This is the letter that he wrote. You can pass that to Matt, and I have a copy for you. Tim, here, they're two separate. Give both of those to Matt. Sorry. And then that's your original letter that you received from him back in August. And this sheet, Matt, that you're looking at, the spreadsheet is basically some of the budgeting that Ledgelight Health District does and what they do for their various towns. I think 10 things listed. And then the allowable expenses that they have. Municipal requests for total for the 10 towns is $628,157.56. The request to Lyme, as you can see, is listed at the bottom as $21,622.15. That is 1% of our total award.
21, yeah.
Yep. And we voted.
This is to be spent over the ensuing 3 fiscal years, I guess. Huh?
Yes.
Or maybe before, I don't know.
Yes. It's a one-time. Get them. I mean, they have done a lot during this pandemic for each of their communities. They have done it within their own budget, but they have moved things around.
Yeah, because we already gave them, I think it was like $40,000, I believe, as a extra amount this fiscal year, I believe.
We know nothing of that.
All right, well, we have here
That's on our new business.
under new business, so
So what we need to do is to move, well, hopefully, present this, move this forward, and then the Board of Finance would also have to approve it at this point in time, but as far as town meeting, we would be checking on that with Jeff to see if it has to go.
structure a motion as might we, that subject to Lyme council, if we do not need to put this to a town meeting, then so much the better.
Right, but we have to pass it first. We have to pass it first. We have to approve a motion.
Oh, yeah. I think it can include that if the opinion is that it, as you say, it's part of a municipal appropriation that's on the books, and we can just augment that without town meeting, so we'll do it.
So I make a motion for the ARPA committee, based on the ARPA committee's recommendation to appropriate to legislate $21,622.15, 1% of our total Old Lyme award, pending further advice from town council as if a town meeting is necessary.
And we're recommending to the Board of Finance.
And recommend to the Board of Finance to approve.
Yeah.
Second.
All right. Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Next, we have the spreadsheet prepared, this long one.
I got it.
Called sole source vendor column, and essentially, if we are getting services from someone that is uniquely qualified, there are a variety of reasons why sole source might be granted. We did this for that Jones Landscaping where they kept the price for 3 years and it was deemed to be very good quality service. So on the front side you have regular purchases which go from $25,000 to $75,000, and then the second page.
Wait, which? Okay, go ahead.
But yeah, the
We
major.
have regular and major.
Major goes from 75 up to whatever, no limit. Now, the one is the health insurance, so that is
Health services.
yeah. The second one is MIRA 306, and so forth. You can read them, but these are usually companies. Say BSC Group, we have 2 or 3 different activities going on with them, and in the aggregate, it's the aggregate dollars. Connecticut Computing, that would include purchasing hardware as well as consulting.
So, I'm interested, I'm not seeing Jones Landscaping on here.
Yeah, it is. It's
listed, but we
did we?
not 116.
approved by
Approved and
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
All right, wait.
we approved.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry, I skipped over it.
I didn't see it either.
It's all that bulk between it, sort of stuck in the middle. Okay.
And then, the other side is Sabre Ford buying police cars. Some of these are one-shot deals that not necessarily get business another year, but it's on Ledge Light, Shipman Fire.
Kind of.
So you could see them down through there. So if it's
So is River Cog, the total paid to River Cog, is that, are those
we pay them dues,
dues?
and they collect for household hazardous waste activity.
Okay.
So there are a number of things that aggregate.
So when I see something like the painting company that's there, is that the only painting company that we use? Do we go out to bid?
I think we would. They have been painting the town halls. Every year they do a different side.
Yep.
And they have some pretty fancy equipment to get up high and so forth. Yeah, you're right. I mean, some of these things you could, like Mike Swinney Electric, we sort of give some of the vendors portions of business, so it isn't just one necessarily. The day newspaper. Good idea, right?
So is this something we approve potential, or is this number accurate? Is this like last year's number?
We're just approving them as a sole source vendor, not a specific dollar amount.
Does that mean that are we approving them to use them then? Because I see someone on here that I thought there was a issue, there was a
I think the only ones in yellow are the sole source. The ones in yellow are the sole source. That's the only ones I think that we are considered sole source, if I read it correctly, right?
Yeah, Nicole created a list of ones that some of them are.
So this one is in yellow.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering if.
I think there's still the decision not to use a particular firm.
So we're just saying that you could if you approved them.
Correct.
Okay, we're not saying that you have to use them.
No.
Okay.
So is it the pleasure of the board to entertain a motion to approve the source
list?
I make a motion to approve the sole source listed provided by Nicole.
Second.
Okay, seconded. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The select woman had a very intriguing idea to designate the 14th of February to be Old Lyme First Responder Day. Just, we periodically, thank you, we periodically express our gratitude to first responders, but day in and day out, they continue to do their jobs, and it isn't only fire, police, ambulance, I think loosely applied, it could apply to grocery store people and others that have to be on duty for us.
So we should call it Essential Workers Day.
Probably, because first responders is more like emergency service.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. Do you want to read this?
Well, I think we'll change it just a little bit, but
okay,
and you're going to write up a decree anyways, correct?
Yeah, well, we could take this and then we could get something handsome, and I don't know to whom we.
Well, basically, my thought was that over the last 2 years I think we're just all very tired, and we need some good feelings going around, and our essential workers have gone above and beyond, whether they are at the grocery store or they've still been at our bank working away. And our dispatchers and our EMTs, police officers, doctors and nurses are going out every day and putting their life on the line for us. I felt that February 14th was a good day to show a little love, a little kindness, and gratitude. As these people have gone above and beyond for us. And I would hope that by doing this, that our people in town would again come out with their heart signs and go up and thank the fire department, swing on through, have your kids yell thank you, and perhaps businesses will join in the fun as well. But I think we need a little, what would you call it?
Just a reminder.
A reminder. that we're all in this together, and we appreciate those people that are out there working for us. Matt, you said too that you had a really good example.
Share a quick story from that snowstorm on the 29th. I happened to be working patrol in Old Lyme that day, and had a call of an accident, rollover crash northbound 95 just prior to 71. Me and Officer Collins were in town, and Resident Trooper Weber was working as well, but he was working patrol for the barracks. So we were available and close, so we went up there. So I got there first, and we found a car on its roof in the shoulder. You know, it's blizzard conditions. It's early in the morning, like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and two people in the median, a male and a female. I go over there and determine the male is the driver, and the female happened to be an off-duty Groton Town or Groton City police officer on her way home, witnessed the accident, stopped her car on the other side of the highway, over the median and helped pull the guy out of the car. She went on her way because I didn't want her to get hit either, so I forgot to brought the gentleman of the operator of the car into my car. He wasn't injured. A couple of bruises. Sat in my car to stay warm till everyone else arrived. We called for a tow truck to come out to get the car back on its roof to, have it removed. And unfortunately, it was, the car wasn't cooperating because of the icy, snowy conditions, and we had trouble getting it on its wheels. Meanwhile, the fire department comes out, other troopers come out, and even though there was a ban on tractor trailers, a couple of tractor trailers came down the hill. Luckily, there was no accident at the time. And then all of a sudden, there was fire departments on scene. They're tending to the scene itself, and then a tractor trailer rams into a car, another car. It ends up being like a 7-car pileup behind us. And one of the old Lyme firefighters got hit by one of the cars. He got clipped, and I was up further with the other car, and I run up, and the horrific noise behind you, of course you're going to run to it, and the firefighter that was injured was Jared Flagg, and I remember walking over, I didn't know he was the one that got hit because he was up on his feet again attending to, I think they had 7 patients in 3 different cars. He was attending to one of the operators of the car after he just got hit by a car. So it reminded me how, things happen so fast. And it was kind of a chaotic scene for a little while. We were more worried about people still coming down the hill and just turning into like these things you see on TV, a 50-car pileup. So I just wanted to extend my thanks to them because the fire department was behind us, and they were protecting the scene, and they were doing what they're trained to do, and they're all volunteers, and I'm being paid to get out there, and they're on their own time, in the middle of the snowstorm. So I just wanted to, express my thanks to them. I'm glad I reached out to Jared. He's doing well. No major injuries. And I reached out to the chiefs, Steve Super, and all the people from Old Lyme EMS that were out there. It was awesome. And we ended up having ambulances coming the wrong way on the highway to get people out of there. So East Lyme Niantic ambulance came out and helped us out as well. So and even the tow truck drivers to help get the cars cleared was, we're all working together so no one's safe. And that was, luckily there was no more accidents because we shut the highway down by just over the Gulf Bridge. So it could have gotten a lot worse. It just reminds me how quick things happen. And so I just wanted to appreciate what they did that day and part of it. Thank you.
Yeah, good story. Okay, the last item is the...
We need to vote on that? We need to vote on that, or are you just going to declare it?
Oh, yeah. All right.
You don't have to.
We'll call it,
you have the power to declare it.
We're going to modify the first responder and...
Essential workers.
Yeah. All right, so we'll take a motion to designate the 14th of February, 2022 as the Old Lyme Essential Worker Day.
Second.
Okay, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Good, thank you. The school 5th graders and 7th graders commandeered this hall last week, and they had the invention convention. The 7th graders had their inventions around the center of the room, and the 5th all around the perimeter, and it was, I think, 30 34 exhibitors. And a bunch of us were asked to judge the projects, and it took a lot of time, and it was really quite interesting because these kids were, you could tell they did a lot of work. It wasn't mom and dad, and they knew what they were doing. There was a gal over there, 5th grader, and she had like a bicycle treadmill thing. You sat in and you pedaled it, and it would dispense coupons for different things if the child pedaled hard and got more coupons and stuff. But she knew these little switches and so forth. She knew all about the electronics that made the thing work, and they had somebody that had a gutter system to make the chicken water automatic. And there was just lots of wonderful things. And this has been going on for several years now, right?
Mm-hmm. Many years.
And I think probably there were, well, I think they divide them between Lyme Consolidated and here, and then the middle school. So I think there were probably about 9 of the inventors who would be going to the next level, which would be state.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we had two students last year that went to the national.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yep.
Congratulations to all them. Other business.
I just wanted to maybe make a motion for the selectmen to, based on our conversation with the advisor the other day, is maybe make a motion that we do participate in that insurance review thing there that he was talking about, and just see, how he's talking about the savings that the town has, that the school has.
For this health insurance.
Yeah, the health insurance. Ian did forward me some procedure, how you go about doing it, that I could forward to you. But I think there's no cost to the town, but it's definitely interesting to see how it compares to what we have and any future savings maybe we could get.
Yeah, we could hopefully get Nicole to take the lead on that, because she works very closely with all that. And
right.
If we could, Holly, I guess.
Holly could certainly walk her through it, but it's basically a
name of the company?
It's a consortium. It's not.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have it at the top of my head. It's got an acronym. And I don't have my notes from that meeting in front of me, so I can't remember. Okay. But it's basically, for those of you in the audience, it's the consortium that the school board participates in for health insurance.
That's many school boards.
Many, yeah.
And many towns? So they have a lot of towns?
Yeah, and so now they're accepting other towns to come in, and it could be in a cost savings to us for health insurance.
Now, I think the school has a high deductible plan. But
he said that they would. He said they would be open to both, but you'd be able to get. You'd be able to get. Hold on a minute.
PPO or something.
You would have the PPO and the high deductible plan, and you'd be able to have some numbers provided to you as what your cost would be, and then we could decide further going forward. Sorry.
Yeah, because I had heard that in the beginning, when the high deductible came out, it was a lot lower, and then the town started subsidizing at least 50% of the payment, the deductible, and then the insurance companies caught on and said, look, they're not really cutting back on their insurance that much, because if you're getting a lot of deductible paid, you keep going to the... So I think the price that came up, but there's certainly 2 years in a row now cut way back on.
I believe the cost savings amount, was 600.
Yeah. High fives, 598 or something close to that.
Went down to $688,000. Yeah. So it is definitely something that we should pursue and look at. So I'll second your motion. If that was a motion.
I don't know if it's a motion.
I don't need it. I think it's a request.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to phrase it, but we should request that Nicole try to obtain.
File the paper. It's a non-committal estimate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to look up on my phone. Yes.
Right. And also, Tim, can I bring up, have you handled the stoplight situation that the...
Not really, no.
Okay.
No, we'll get on that, yeah.
Matt, are you aware that the school bus company and the Board of Education has asked that the light at Halls Road, Tim would have to do...
Have a left turn signal.
To put a left turn signal onto Halls Road so that the buses would be able to start turning there without cutting off cars?
I think the only issue with that, because I remember when I was up in Academy, where the 81 Little City Road is, we had the same issue. If they want to have to put a left turn lane in, it's restricted how wide it is underneath that bridge. That's the only issue I could see, because I don't know where the town lines start and where does the state line start.
It is a state thing. Ian's already talked to the DOT.
Yeah. So that's the only issue I could see, but I think it's worth looking into. Yeah.
That's probably I-95 stuff.
Yeah, but the DOT said you have to request it. They'll do it, but you have to request it.
Well, the other thing is the curvature of the bridge. If you had a taller vehicle and you had an official right lane, let's say you pulled up some of the curb and stuff on the walkway underneath on the right to make a proper lane, you might run the risk that a taller vehicle would clonk into the bridge.
They're not asking for another lane. It's just a left-hand turn signal for so many seconds so that buses can start to go before the cars are going.
Well, I was thinking do you know, Matt, could you program the box to do a longer left turn sequence during the
it's all timing. I mean, they can turn the street lights on. I don't see why they couldn't, because those lights on 156 flash at 10 o'clock at night. They just start flashing, so I wouldn't see why you wouldn't be able to.
Normally you wouldldn't need a left turn, but if you're going to get 2 or 3 buses, it can't be 5 seconds.
Right. No, so I think you can program it.
If they can program it to be during the school rush, afternoon, morning stuff.
Yes, I think they can do it.
I think they have the technology, but I don't know for sure.
That would be ideal.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
All right. Spare time. We'll get anything else?
Not on my list.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
At 8:09.
Oh.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you all.